Installing an electrical outlet directly below an electrical panel in a dwelling is generally not permitted due to working space requirements outlined in the National Electrical Code, specifically Section 110.26. This section mandates clear and unobstructed working space around electrical equipment to ensure safety for personnel who may need to inspect, maintain, or repair the equipment. The code establishes minimum distances for working space in front of electrical equipment operating at 600 volts or less. The depth of the working space is determined by the voltage to ground and the condition of the installation. For example, Condition 1 exists where there are exposed live parts on one side of the working space and no grounded parts or grounded parts suitably insulated on the other side of the working space. Condition 2 exists where there are exposed live parts on one side of the working space and grounded parts on the other side. Condition 3 exists where there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space. The minimum clear distances for these conditions vary based on voltage. For voltages of 0 to 150 volts to ground, Condition 1 requires a minimum clear distance of 3 feet, Condition 2 requires 3 feet, and Condition 3 requires 3 feet. For voltages of 151 to 600 volts to ground, Condition 1 requires a minimum clear distance of 3 feet, Condition 2 requires 3.5 feet, and Condition 3 requires 4 feet. The width of the working space must be at least 30 inches wide or the width of the equipment, whichever is greater. The height of the working space must extend from the grade, floor, or platform to a height of 6.5 feet or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. Installing an outlet directly below an electrical panel would likely encroach upon this required working space, potentially creating an unsafe condition. The presence of an outlet and any cords plugged into it could obstruct access to the panel, hinder necessary work, and increase the risk of electrical shock or other injuries. The intent of the code is to provide ample room for electricians and other qualified personnel to safely perform their tasks without being encumbered by obstructions. Furthermore, the area around an electrical panel should be kept clear of any materials that could pose a fire hazard or impede access in an emergency. This includes items such as storage boxes, flammable liquids, and, in this case, electrical outlets. There are several practical considerations regarding the working space around electrical panels. Firstly, unobstructed access is crucial for quick disconnection of power in emergency situations. Secondly, sufficient space is needed to use tools and equipment safely during maintenance and repairs. Thirdly, adequate lighting is necessary to clearly see the components within the panel. Code requirements also address illumination and dedicated equipment space. Adequate illumination must be provided for the working space around electrical equipment. Dedicated equipment space refers to the space above and below the electrical equipment, which must be kept clear of obstructions. The dedicated space usually extends to a height of 6 feet above the equipment or to the structural ceiling, whichever is lower. No piping, ducts, or other equipment unrelated to the electrical installation are allowed in this zone. The code makes exceptions in certain circumstances, but these exceptions are typically limited and must be carefully evaluated to ensure compliance with all applicable safety standards. For example, certain types of conduit or raceways might be permitted to pass through the working space if they are installed in a way that does not significantly impede access to the panel. However, such installations must be meticulously planned and executed to avoid violating the overall intent of the code. The height requirements for working space are also important. The working space must be at least 6.5 feet high or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater, to provide adequate headroom for personnel working on the equipment. In areas with limited headroom, such as basements or attics, special considerations may be necessary to ensure compliance with the code. In such cases, it may be necessary to relocate the electrical panel or modify the surrounding structure to provide the required working space. The NEC also addresses specific requirements for working space in different types of electrical installations, such as those in residential, commercial, and industrial settings. These requirements may vary depending on the voltage and complexity of the electrical system. For example, industrial installations may require larger working spaces than residential installations due to the higher voltages and currents involved. It is crucial to consult the latest edition of the NEC and any applicable local codes to determine the specific requirements for a particular installation. Local codes may impose additional restrictions or requirements beyond those specified in the NEC. These local codes are often based on specific conditions or concerns within the jurisdiction. Compliance with both the NEC and local codes is essential to ensure the safety and legality of electrical installations. Regular inspections and maintenance are also crucial to ensure that the working space around electrical panels remains clear and unobstructed. Over time, items may accumulate in the working space, either intentionally or unintentionally. It is important to periodically inspect the area and remove any obstructions that could impede access to the panel. This includes items such as storage boxes, tools, and electrical cords. In addition to the working space requirements, the NEC also addresses other safety considerations related to electrical panel installations. These include grounding, overcurrent protection, and proper wiring methods. Grounding is essential to provide a safe path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, are designed to protect the electrical system from overloads and short circuits. Proper wiring methods are crucial to ensure that the electrical system is installed in a safe and reliable manner. Furthermore, electrical panels should be installed in a location that is readily accessible and free from hazards. The location should be dry, well ventilated, and protected from physical damage. The panel should also be mounted securely to a wall or other suitable support structure. The NEC also specifies requirements for the identification and labeling of electrical panels and circuits. Each circuit breaker or fuse must be clearly labeled to indicate the equipment or area that it serves. This allows for quick and easy identification of circuits during maintenance and troubleshooting. Electrical panels should also be labeled with a warning sign indicating the presence of live electrical parts. This helps to prevent accidental contact with energized components. In summary, installing an electrical outlet directly below an electrical panel in a dwelling is generally not permitted due to the working space requirements of the NEC. The code mandates clear and unobstructed working space around electrical equipment to ensure safety for personnel who may need to inspect, maintain, or repair the equipment. Compliance with these requirements is essential to prevent electrical shock, fire, and other hazards. It is always best to consult a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure that electrical installations are performed safely and in accordance with all applicable codes. Doing so ensures that you are not violating the rules. It also makes it easier to service the panel in the future. So remember, clear working space equals safety.